The anime begins with the introduction of Hinamoto Country, where a demon mysteriously falls from the sky. He conquers humans and brings an end to the human empire. Many generals and warriors give their lives to save their empires, but they fail, and now the only group left is a community of warriors known as the Bushi. Why does this sound so dramatic? Anyway, now humans worship the demon known as Kishin, but there are exceptions, like our protagonist, Musashi. He attends a mining school and is regarded as one of the top students. Students are taught in school that the Bushi were evil and spread violence. However, Musashi doesn't believe this story. He knows a lot about the Bushi thanks to his friend Kojiro, the son of a former Bushi, and their shared goal of defeating Kishin. But just me, or is this Musashi guy giving me bad Eren vibes?
Nani?
Yeah, so Musashi pays a visit to Kojiro and Kojiro asks him about his goal, to which Musashi replies he's always wanted to be a Bushi and use his weapon to defeat demons. As a child, he fantasized about forming his own Bushi band with Kojiro. However, Kojiro now believes otherwise and tells Musashi to abandon his plan because people discriminate against Bushi. But Musashi is dead serious about it and will do anything to prove his point. The day of the entrance ceremony comes, where they'll serve the demon masters, but they later realize that they're being made slaves of demons and that if they disobey the demons, they'll be eaten alive. Well, I don't know about you guys, but the last thing I'll ever want is to become demon food. Anyway, Musashi, upon realizing this, attacks the demon with a mining axe, which obviously doesn't end up well. A demon's about to eat Musashi, but Kojiro comes in like a hero and saves him. He gives Musashi his weapon, then Musashi uses the technique called Furious Demon Dash and cuts a demon in 2 slices. They combine their efforts and manage to defeat the other demons together and then rush towards Kishin. On their way, they see a red demon. Musashi cuts him in half, but he soon regenerates and recovers instantly. Then some of Kishin's worshippers give Kishin some metal to eat, and eventually Kishin reveals its true form, a giant monster with 6 arms. Kishin tries to punch Musashi and Kojiro, but it misses. However, it creates a shockwave and takes down both of them. Kishin tries to take Kojiro's sword, which was given to him by his father, who also instructed that it be stored carefully. However, Kishin manages to take his sword and swallows it. Seeing this, Musashi rushes towards Kishin and starts climbing up. He starts carving the Kishin's stomach open and finally breaks through the stomach and collapses. Everyone thinks he's dead, but he manages to survive with Kojiro's sword in his hand. At first, they think they've defeated the monster and enjoy the moment. A band of Bushi approaches and their leader instructs them to leave the place, to which Musashi tells him that they've already defeated the Kishin. He soon realizes that the Kishin is not dead and has recovered. The leader tells Musashi that they'll handle it, but Musashi doesn't oblige and runs towards Kishin. Pretty stubborn guy. Anyway, he continuously attacks Kishin, but all his efforts show no sign of progress. Meanwhile, the Bushi leader, Takeda Natora of the Takeda band, reunites with his group. Natora explains that to take down a Kishin requires the entire band's power and tells Musashi that he's not powerful enough and ties him up. However, Musashi breaks free and heads back to fight the Kishin. The Bushi prepares to attack the core of the Kishin by making formations. But Musashi comes in and uses a technique that destroys a mountain and also breaks their formation, which ends terribly. Like I said, pretty stubborn guy. Musashi again attacks the Kishin, but this time he aims for his horns. Unfortunately, his sword breaks immediately, and the Kishin counters Musashi by using a fireball. Naotora comes before the impact and slices the horn instantly, turning Kishin into sparkles. Before moving, let me take a sip of water. Yeah, continue. Later, Naotora assures them and further states that he'll annihilate the remaining Kishins and will bring forth freedom. Now, seriously, this is turning into an Attack on Titan thing. He praises Musashi and Kojiro and gives them a crystal before leaving. That mysterious crystal turns out to be a compass used to find the demons. Using a map, they see hundreds of Kishin and a prophecy stating that there will be a person who will unite the lands and people to battle against Kishin.
Later.
Musashi tells Naotora about the prophecy, and Naotora informs him that he's attempting to fulfill it. Finally, Musashi backs him up, saying he'll be the one to bring everyone together. The next day, they go outside for the first time to explore the world. They make a promise to stay together no matter what, but that promise is quickly broken when they run out of supplies and begin to argue and blame each other. Our boy Kojiro finds a solution and manages to collect some fish to eat, which annoys Musashi, as he wasn't good at fishing.
A few inches later.
Musashi returns and discovers Kojiro unconscious on the ground. Suddenly, a girl attacks him and demands that he hand over all of his possessions. But Musashi, being Musashi, easily tackles her. She begins undressing her clothes to distract him and sneakily attacks him with a knife. But you know our boy, he's no simp, he easily dodges her attack. That pisses her off and she's about to use her best tricks, but soon she gives up on that idea and steals their bike and runs away. There we see her apologizing to her lord for coming late. Musashi and Kojiro track her down and arrive at the lord's fortress. They then bump into Tsugami, who stole their bike. She escorts them to her lord and promises to return their bike. They meet the lord, and the lord asks Musashi to kill the demons in the area by joining his band. In return, they will get Kaitsu. Now, what exactly is this Kaitsu? They question themselves and tell the lord that they know nothing about Kaitsu. The lord gets angry and locks them in a cell. Tsugumi is threatened and instructed to follow his instructions. She disapproves of the thought that people, including children, will be used to battle demons, but she's powerless to change it. She meets the boys in the cell and she tells them that the sparkles Bushi absorbs by killing Kishin is Kaitsu. Musashi realizes that she's doing things against her will, and he tells her to stand up for herself, but she leaves without saying a word. After successfully breaking out of the prison, Musashi and Kojiro sprint for the fortress. Later, when the lord orders all of the villagers to gather, Tsugumi musters the strength to stand up on their behalf. He was about to hit her, but he stops and tries to manipulate her by telling her that he will kick her out. Tsugumi, with nowhere else to go, agrees to his terms once more. She's unable to speak up to him because she has spent her entire life serving him. While she was crying over her sister's photograph, both boys barged in and assisted her in overcoming her fear. They then devised a strategy to rescue the villagers from being used as a pawn by the lord. Tsugumi creates a smokescreen and tries to sort things out without a fight. We already know that's not gonna happen. Anyway, Musashi and Kojiro take down the band, and Tsugumi attacks the lord, but he's much more powerful than her. He beats her badly, but Tsugumi chooses not to give up and spits blood in his face. They continue the fight using their weapons, and Tsugumi manages to tie him with her leash. But the demons attack her. She's about to give up her life, but Musashi saves her. And for monetization purposes, let's not talk about what happens next. But we sure do get some good fan service here. Anyway, where was I? So next morning, while Kojiro and Tsugumi were sleeping, Musashi notices a Kishin stealing Kojiro's sword and attacks him on his horn. But the Kishin is unharmed. Musashi arrives at a location overflowing with katanas and is approached by a man who asks if he wants to use the katana. Musashi notices Kishin about to eat Kojiro's katana. In desperation, he grabs one of the katanas, but as soon as he grabs the sword, he feels a surge of power, and his body begins to grow crystals. He eventually gains control of the power and kills Kishin, after which he absorbs the sword's kaitsu, but the katana shatters. The mysterious guys tell Musashi not to worry about the sword, and an ally of said mysterious guy tells Musashi that his friend has an obsession with the kaitsu sword and apologizes for his over-enthusiastic behavior. At least he's not as obsessive as Tanjiro's blacksmith. After they leave, all of the katana vanish, and Tsugumi and Kojiro arrive. They, however, do not believe in Musashi. Later, all three of them proceed, and Tsugumi advises them to purchase a kaitsu blade for themselves because it's the only weapon capable of killing Kishins. With that information, they proceed to the trade center to obtain the necessary items and weapons. When they arrive at the location, they stop for food. A man approaches them and inquires about the name of their band, and they realize they don't have one. Tsugumi suggests that they choose a captain for the band, and Musashi appoints Kajiro as their leader and asks him for a name. Kajiro names the band Kanimaki after his family name, to which everyone agrees. They later arrive at the kaitsu blade auction site, where the head smith, Osafune Mitsuru, suggests Musashi choose the sword he's attracted to. Musashi and Kajiro each choose their preferred sword, and as they do, they begin to glow. Kajiro gets a flashback of his past as he picks up his sword, and the sword accepts him and turns blue. He learns that different colors represent different levels of power, with red being the most powerful. Musashi also gets a glimpse of his past, when his father died, and then he sees a girl, who transforms into a beast, and tells him that she doesn't want him. Then we see that his entire body is covered in crystals. He tries again and again, but the sword doesn't accept him. Mitsuru, the head smith, informs him that he cannot become a bushi. Kojiro and Tsugumi try to cheer him up as he sits disheartened on the ground, but suddenly, a giant demon appears. The demon attacks Musashi, but Musashi is still stuck in the fact that he can't use any katanas, so he freezes while the demon attacks. With the help of his new blade, Kojiro saves him. Musashi, coming back to his senses, stands aside at a safe place with everyone else, while Kojiro and other Bushi fight the demon. After defeating the demon, everyone praises Kojiro for his efforts. Poor Musashi feels left out and sad for his situation. Everyone else, including Kojiro and Tsugumi, moves forward towards the mountains to continue the battle, but Musashi decides to stay alone for a while. Then it hits him. How did he use the Kaitsu sword while saving Kojiro's sword earlier? Who was that mysterious character? As he begins to ponder these questions, the same mysterious man appears and invites him to join him. He has the same black crystal as Musashi, which prevents people from using the Kaitsu sword, and he claims to understand the hardship that this causes. He goes on to say that he can use the sword if he can accept his past. He wields his sword and creates a massive square crater to show Musashi his power. He can transform himself into a Kaitsu sword by grabbing a blade. Musashi, on the other hand, doesn't want to become a Kaitsu sword and thus rejects him. After that, Shiryu pushes him into the void. Kojiro and Tsugumi, on the other hand, are concerned because they left Musashi alone. Tsugumi inquires about Musashi's parents, and Kojiro replies they were ordinary farmers. Let's return back to our boy Musashi, who's still falling into the hole. But when he notices a sword falling beside him, he grabs it and stabs it into the ground. Crystals begin to appear on his body and he falls into the lava as a result of them. He then finds himself in an unusual location, where he encounters a goddess who appears to be preventing him from using the sword. She takes his hand in hers and tells him that he's too weak. He starts getting flashbacks of his past where his parents are dead, and everyone around him is discriminating him because his parents were friends with Ibushi. His parents forced him to live with his relatives because, parents love and all. Basically, they wanted Musashi to stay away from everything. Then we see how Musashi used to get beaten for asking questions or even going outside of the house. Jeez, give him a chance, goddammit. Wait, they did give him a chance? Yeah. So a woman gives him a chance to prove his alliance. She tells him to throw a stone at Kojiro's dad, which we all know is Ibushi. He hesitates for a second, he even feels sad, but throws the stone and even curses him. Enough with the flashbacks, this ain't Naruto. So now back to present time. As a result, the goddess informs Musashi that he is unworthy of the Kaitsu blade, because he will go to any length to gain the approval of others. Meanwhile, Kojiro and others reach the summit of the mountain and discover that Kishin's head has already been slashed. Tsugumi, on the other hand, believes Kishin is still alive because he's not turned into sparkles. Shiryu then appears and claims to have killed Kishin. He begins to approach Kojiro, but the other Bushi stops him and asks him to show where Kishin's head is. Shiryu slashes the man and reveals that he has come to steal more blades. Meanwhile, Musashi's almost covered in the crystal, but gets pulled out of the lava and he rushes toward the mountain to find his friends. While running, we again go to the flashback, maybe this is Naruto, where he apologized to Kojiro's father for throwing the stone. Kojiro's father tells him to not think about it as he knows he's a good kid, who has helped Kojiro battle his depression. And that, my friends, is how Musashi started living with them. This continuous switching from past to present is starting to get a little frustrating. Anyway, back to the present. Shiro is currently overwhelming everyone, but Kojiro finds a way to distract Shiro and allow others to escape. Kojiro attacks Shiro, but he avoids the attack and easily defeats him. He grabs Kojiro and is about to kill him when he notices Musashi is still alive. Shiro's friend, Nanao, informs him that she unknowingly saved Musashi. Shiro, now that he knows that Nanao has aided Musashi, is intrigued to see what the goddess will do next. Trying to redeem herself, Nanao attacks the band and overpowers them. Musashi assists the band members who are losing hope by encouraging them to believe in one another. But there's no stopping to Nanao now. She attacks everyone with her powerful weapon, but our boy Musashi tries to stop her and fails. Poor Musashi. Anyway, they devise a new strategy and restart the attack. Musashi and Tsugumi trail Kojiro, but Nanao directs her blades at Musashi, which is her main target. Tsugumi, coming in clutch, manages to hold them back with her whip. Musashi, seeing this as a ray of hope, breaks one of her blades. This gives Musashi and his friends a much-needed boost. Shiro approaches Nanao and tells her that she is weak and he can't be her ally. He swings his sword and a giant purple barrier appears on top of the mountain, turning the entire mountain upside down. No, this isn't Stranger Things and he's no Vecna, but he sure is overpowered. As everything begins to fall, the goddess appears and stops time. She informs Musashi that Shiro intends to kill him in order to gain his powers. She's prepared to use her abilities to save Musashi, but Musashi refuses to be saved alone. Hearing his words makes the goddess happy, and she bestows her powers on him by merging with him. The time restarts, and the goddess appears in Musashi's body, and she flips the mountain back to normal. I'm still saying this is no Stranger Things, and she's no 11, but she's also overpowered. Nanao, as a last resort, attacks the goddess, but she easily defends her attack. So now it's time for some storytelling. The goddess tells Musashi that people with black crystals can attract and repel the energy of swords. Then she summons all of the Kaitsu swords from a large white barrier. She goes on to explain that Kojido's father was her vessel before him, and she asks Musashi not to die. Now this overpowered goddess attacks Shiro with all of her combined power. She swings the sword, destroying everything in its path. Shiro vanishes and Musashi reverts to his natural form. Musashi notices that his sword is shattered. That's what happens when someone wields that much power, according to the head smith. Next day, Musashi gives himself another chance to obtain a Kaitsu sword. He chooses the same sword as before, and this time a red light covers his body. As a result, he appears to be given the most powerful sword. Oh boy, here we go again. Another overpowered protagonist. After getting his Kaitsu sword, Musashi asks Kojiro about his father's connection to the goddess, but Kojiro has no idea about it. So they later decide to continue their journey and proceed. They become lost in the middle of a swamp, where a plant demon attacks and silently captures Kojiro and Tsugumi. Musashi notices this and slashes the demon, saving them. They also discover more captured individuals. Musashi assists them, and one of them is revealed to be a princess. Musashi attempts to communicate with the princess as they travel, but she ignores him. The man then informs them that they'll be meeting with the leader of their alliance. As they proceed, Musashi and the princess are thrown from the vehicle due to a bad road. The princess saves Musashi with her sword, which transforms into an umbrella, and apologizes for not speaking to him. She asks them to accompany her to the island where the first Kishin appeared. Humans have stopped fighting it because of its destructive strength and started worshipping the demon, and now it's become supermassive. The man with the princess informs them that their alliance intends to defeat this Kishin, and that their band leader has assembled a massive army. Following this, the princess and the man part ways as their paths diverge. Tsugumi notices the seal on the map and realizes that the alliance the man was discussing is the same as Kojido's father's. Shiro, on the other hand, intends to seize the power of the Obsidian Goddess. With this new threat on the way, Musashi and his friends continue their journey to solve the mystery of Kojido's father. Finally, it ended. Wait, what? You're telling me there's a season 2? Oh, god damn!